Good morning. Notes. Chapter 6, Section 3 continued. This part of the section is going to take us through this thing we call synthetic division. We can use this type of division if the divisor is of the form x minus c. So notice the coefficient is 1, the coefficient of x, and it's a binomial. Okay, so if the coefficient is bigger than 1, then you can't use this form of division. But this is an easier way to get through the factoring, which then in turn leads us to solving polynomial functions. All right, so what you want to do is, just like we did before for long division, you want to arrange the polynomials in descending order. Or we'll say the powers are descending. Okay, so it has to be highest to lowest. So you now arrange those polynomials in descending powers. Use a 0 coefficient for missing terms. This is important. Just like we use the 0 coefficient for missing terms with long division, it is essential that we use it for synthetic division as well. Okay, so I'm going to go through filling in this part of the notes, and then we're going to do an example. And I'm going to do the example many times, just so that you know what each step is talking about. All right, second thing we do is we identify c, and we write it down. So if the divisor is x minus c, then our c value is positive c. Okay, so it's always the opposite sign. And then to the right of that value, whatever c is, if this was x minus 2, my c value would be 2. And I would write a 2 down. And to the right of that, I would write the coefficients of the dividend. After I write the coefficients of the dividend, I'm going to write the leading coefficient of the dividend in the bottom row. So with synthetic division, you're going to have 3 rows. You're going to have a top row, a middle row, and a bottom row. Then what we do is we're going to take that c value and we're going to multiply it with the value that we just wrote on the bottom row. And we write that product, right, because we're multiplying, it's called a product. We're going to write that product in the next column in the second row. Now we're going to have a column with numbers in it. So what you do with those is you add them. So add the values in this new column, writing the sum of those numbers in the bottom row. And then we repeat the series of multiplications and additions until all columns are filled in. All columns are filled in. All right, so let's go back up to the top. All right. So up here in this corner, I'm going to just give a little demonstration. If my divisor is x minus 3, then my value of c is positive 3. But if my divisor is x plus 3, then the value of c is negative 3. So it's always the sign opposite that you use for the c value, because these are really our zeros. Right? If we were using ZPP and x minus 3 was a factor, then we know that 3 would be a 0. If x plus 3 was my factor, then negative 3 would be my 0. Okay, and again, this type of division only works when you are, if the divisor is of the form x minus c. All right, so an actual problem. Let's suppose, I guess I'll do a different color here. Let's suppose that we have something like x plus 4, and we want to divide that into x cubed minus 13x plus 12. Now, you should notice here that we are missing a term. Can you figure out what the term is? Well, if you said that it was the quadratic term, you are correct. So I'm going to rewrite this as x plus 4 divided into x cubed plus 0x squared minus 13x plus 12. And then we check. Third power, second power, first power, and that's the 0 power. Constant is x to the 0 power. All right, so I have my problem with my missing terms placeholder. The next step is to identify what c is, and in this case, c is negative 4. So I'm going to write negative 4. And I'm going to put it in a half box. I'm not going to use this division symbol. And to the right of that, I'm going to write the coefficients of the dividend. And if you look here, the coefficients here, this is a 1. That's a 0. That's a negative 13. You got to take the sign with it. And that's a positive 12. So to the right of this, I write 1, 0, negative 13, and 12. Okay, so that's step 1. Step 2. Now I'm going to do step 1 again. But when you're doing an actual problem, you only have to do it once. The next step, as this is building, it says write the leading coefficient of the dividend in the bottom row. Okay, so when you do a problem, you identify c. C is negative 4. Put it in the half box. 1, 0, negative 13, 12. Then you write a tally bar, but you leave space to create another row. And then you drop this one down into the bottom row. You're really adding. You're doing 1 plus 0 is 1. All right, the next step. It says multiply c times the value that you just wrote on the bottom row. Write that product in the next column in the second row. All right, so if I'm starting from scratch, my c value is negative 4. My coefficients are 1, 0, negative 13, and 12. I write my tally bar. I drop the 1 down. Now, on the diagonal, you multiply. It's almost like you're making the multiplication symbol, which is an x, right? X for times. So negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. And you put that product right there in that middle row. Okay, then what we do is we're going to take these and we're going to add them and write the sum in the bottom row. Okay, so pretending we're starting from scratch. C is negative 4 in the half box. 1, 0, negative 13, positive 12. Tally bar, drop it down. On the diagonal, multiply. Put the product here. On the straight up and down, that's like you're making the addition sign. So you add negative 4. And then you repeat this series of multiplications and additions until all the columns are filled in. So this is how one of your problems would look if you were starting from scratch. You identify your c value, which is negative 4, in the half box. Coefficients are 1, 0, negative 13, and 12. Keep in mind, you can have more than 1 0. All right, then I drop it down. On the diagonal, I multiply. Up, down, we add. On the diagonal, we multiply. Put the product here. Right? Negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16. Add. Negative 13 plus 16 is 3. Multiply. 4 times 3 is 12. It's negative. 12 and a negative 12. The sum is 0. Now I have it all filled in, and I can get some information from this. You see, x plus 4 is a factor of the polynomial. How do I know that? Because the remainder is 0. This here is your remainder. Now this could be a different number, But for this problem, the remainder is 0. So I can conclude that x plus 4 is a factor of the polynomial, and negative 4 is a 0 of this function. This part here, we didn't fill that in because I wanted to wait until we got through all of this to at least show you the synthetic division. We're going to use the numbers in the last row to write the quotient, plus the remainder above the divisor, if there is a remainder. In this case, there is no remainder. The degree of the first term of the quotient is 1 less. Okay, you have to remember that. It's 1 less than the degree of the first term of the dividend. The final value in this row is your remainder. All right, we started out with power of 3. If you look back up at the original problem, right, that was x cubed. I divided out an x, so it should make sense that my quotient is going to be, well, let's write it this way. So, comma, x to the power of 3 subtract 13x plus 12 divided by x plus 4 equals, this is the coefficient of the first term of your quotient. 1x, this started out as a power of 3, this bumps down to a power of 2. 1x squared minus 4, I'm getting this minus, okay, so this 1 is that 1. This negative 4 is that negative 4. 1x squared minus 4x, that's my constant, plus 3. In this case, we do not need a remainder because we had a 0 in the last column. Okay, so this is my quotient right here. X cubed minus 13x plus 12 divided by x plus 4 equals x squared minus 4x plus 3. And what's more, we can say that x cubed subtract 13x plus 12 is really equal to x plus 4 times x squared minus 4x plus 3. Okay, yes, I know, this could be factored. We're not doing that right now. We're just getting to the point where we're learning synthetic division. We'll do all that happy stuff later if we're actually solving. That's a different direction. Okay, so if you have questions, please ask in class or post on the homework document that's on Schoology. All right, let's do a couple of actual problems so we can see how this is going to look. Example 1 says use synthetic division. Now, if it says use synthetic division, you have to use synthetic division. If it doesn't say use synthetic division, well, then you're going to have to determine if you can use synthetic division. We're going to take x cubed plus x squared, subtract 16x, subtract 16, and divide it by x minus 4. Notice this is of the form x minus c, so I can use synthetic division here. My c value is positive 4. Remember, it's always opposite. So I take my c, which happens to be 4, and I put it in the half box. And I look at my terms, and I'm like, oh, okay, third power, second power, first power, no power. There are no missing terms, and I am in the correct order. So I'm going to write the coefficients, right? This is a 1, that's a 1. So I have a 1 here, a 1 here, a negative 16 here, and a negative 16 here. Put my tally bar, drop the 1. 4 times 1, 4. 1 plus 4, 5. 4 times 5, 20. Negative 16 plus 20, 4. 4 times 4, 16. This is a 0. This means no remainder. Because there is no remainder, x minus 4 is a factor of x cubed plus x squared minus 16x minus 16. And x cubed plus x squared minus 16x minus 16 divided by x minus 4 is equal to, I have to use this. This was the third power, this is going to be second power. 1x squared, sign is plus 5x plus 4. All right, so that's my quotient with no remainder. Not too bad. Hopefully you find this enjoyable. All right. Use synthetic division to divide x cubed plus 8 by x plus 2. So a good idea here would be for you to pause the video and try this problem on your own. I'm going to pause my video and work the solution out. Remember, you do have missing terms with this one. See what you can do with it. All right, hopefully you did pause the video and work this one out by yourself. So I'm using synthetic division to divide this by this. I am missing terms. In fact, I'm missing the quadratic and the linear term, so I have to put the zeros in, right? Because I went from cubic to constant. I take the coefficients 1, 0, 0, 8, and write them here. My c value is -2. So I write c in the half box. To the right of it, I write the coefficients. Make my tally bar, drop the 1 down. Perform my series of multiplications and additions. That's -2, add -2. That's +4, add +4. That's -8, add, you get a 0. There's no remainder. Since there's no remainder, we can conclude that x plus 2 is a factor. Remember, it's not x minus 2 because this is always opposite of what's in the binomial. And further, if I use this to write my quotient, since it started out third power, it bumps down to second power. This is x squared minus 2x plus 4. Okay, we have one more. And again, why don't you pause the video and try to do that one on your own? Well, I guess it would help if I would have told you what to divide by. You're going to divide by x plus 2. Okay, so resume pause. Okay, hopefully you at least set up the synthetic division. My divisor was x plus 2, so that gives me a c value of -2. Remember, when you use ZPP, it's always the sign opposite that. I put -2 in the half box, and I noticed that I was missing terms. In fact, here I was missing a cube and a linear, okay? And so you really have to make sure that these are in order and that you're not missing any. Fourth, third, second, first, and then this, of course, your constant is 0 power. All right, so I take my c, put it in the half box, and I write the coefficients of the polynomial. Drop it down, perform my series of multiplications and additions. And I end up with -35 this time. This is a remainder. And since I have a remainder, the remainder means that this x plus 2 is not a factor. It's not a factor of the polynomial x to the power of 4 minus 6x squared minus 27. But that's okay. I can still give the quotient. The quotient here, now notice, and you can write it like this. X to the power of 4, subtract 6x squared, subtract 27, divided by x plus 2, that quantity. Started out as fourth power. This is the coefficient of the cube term. So that's 1x cubed, subtract 2x squared. Now, if there would be a 0 down here, You don't stop when you get a 0 down here. That just means that, that term in the polynomial doesn't exist. It just so happens that I have all non-zero numbers here. All right, third power, second power. This is first power, and that's negative 2x. And then, of course, this is my my constant, rather. Okay, that's my linear. So I've got 1, negative 2, 4. That's 1, negative 2, negative 2, 4. That was fourth power. This is third power, second power, first power, no power. But I have a remainder. Now I'm going to write it as plus negative 35 over x plus 2. Okay, so my directions were to divide. I did divide and see that I do have a remainder of negative 35. And remember, the remainder always goes over the divisor. All right, you have a book assignment, page 324, 13 to 22. See what you could do with those. Remember, if you have any questions, please ask in class or post on the homework discussion or come into a Google Meet. Have a great day.